Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be fixing a Game Boy Color game. It's a Microsoft Pinball Arcade Game Boy Color game that I got off eBay. It does not work at all. I tested it once and it just didn't work, didn't load up at all. But today's going to be a little bit different because I'm going to be repairing it in real time. So let's jump into it. Alright, so what's the first steps to repair? If I'm working on this in real time, I'll show you exactly how I go through everything and what steps I go through in order to get it fixed. So first, let's test it out. And as you can see here, it has that little Nintendo logo pop up, but it's a little messed up. Let me try to remove it one more time. Yeah, it's just not loading. So that tells me the pins are either the problem or potentially the main chip on this side here could be an issue, because this one does not have a save battery, so it doesn't have that that additional chip added to it to manage the save file. But yeah, let's open it up and see what we see. One other quick note, whenever you're looking at Game Boy Color games, look for this little symbol. Now, this one is 00. Excuse me. Some of the other ones are like 03, 04. I've seen a whole bunch of different codes and symbols. That typically makes this a real copy. I've never seen anything that has, or I should say that doesn't have this if it isn't a real copy. So just something to look for while you're out rummaging through trying to find more Game Boy games for your collection. This board is actually really clean, surprisingly clean. There's a lot of traces on the back, and it's funny because they're normally on the front here, but it's interesting that they're on the back. I've never opened one of these before, but I'm sure this chip is not getting a proper connection to these pins through this back section of traces in order to make that Nintendo logo all jumbled. But first things first is let's just clean these pins really quick and make sure that that's not the case. They look really clean, but you never know. Sometimes there's a little speck of dirt that just gets in the way and it just doesn't load very well. So let's clean those up. I'm using some isopropyl alcohol and Q-tips, and I just like to pour some of the isopropyl alcohol into a little cap and spill it all over, obviously, and grab a couple Q-tips and just clean up the bottom of the board. And this is a really clean copy, which is pretty surprising that this one isn't working. But I don't know, sometimes those little traces fail over time, or the chip has a cold solder joint and you just need to heat that up. So I always want to clean first though, just in case there's some sort of debris or something like that that's on the chip itself that's causing it to malfunction. And Q-tips are cheap, so use them like they're cheap. You know, once they're a little bit dirty, just toss it and move on to the next one. You don't really need to continue using it, even if it is only just a little debris on that on the end of that swab. I didn't really get a lot of dirt or anything off of this one, so that's kind of a good sign in a way, because then it kind of tells me that this is probably just related to the chip. I like to clean the entire board just because I'm here. I might as well just clean it up. let me give the pins one more quick run through. But the pins look really good on this one, so odds are it's probably this chip that's the problem. And see, I didn't really get much off of that, so. Let's plug it in and see if that fixed it. I doubt it did, but like I said before, you never know. Sometimes the simplest things typically fix problems. It all depends. Nope. Yeah, didn't think so. But hey, it was worth a shot. Alright, now it's probably these. Now taking a quick look at them, they don't look bad. They don't look bad at all, actually. But the chip isn't perfectly centered on those pins either. You can kind of see how it's a little off either way. Let me point here. Like these pins here, like you could see that they're slightly going off to the right. They're not perfectly centered. You know, the factory does a pretty good job putting these on most of the time, but sometimes they can be a little off center because it's not made perfectly correct, but that could be causing the issue. So let's just reheat up those or reflow those spots. You can use some flux to put it on there. I'll just go through real quick without flux just to see if that will work. If not, I could just throw a little flux on there and just clean up the joints and make sure they're all good at that point. But just go one by one. Just heat them up really quick. And just go down the line. This is a super common problem with Game Boy and Game Boy Color games in particular, where there's a cold solder joint on one of these little chips here, the ROM chip, and it just needs a little reflowing of the solder. You could barely see it, but they are reflowing. There's still a little bit of excess flux and residue, I'm sure, underneath there that's causing this to reflow. I'll typically go through once like this, and if that doesn't do it, then I'll actually put some flux on there. The other reason why I don't like using flux is because my flux pen is missing its tip. And I should really buy another one. I don't know why I haven't yet. But yeah, I really need to get another one. But yeah, see, they're just reflowed just a little bit. I'm gonna clean again just because. Make sure there's nothing hanging out on the board that's not supposed to be there and short something. And see, there's a little bit in there. There's always just a little bit left, especially after soldering. It could be from the tip, but odds are there was probably just some leftover stuff that was left on these pins, and that's what caused that excess residue like that. So all right, let's test it out and see if that fixed it. And look at that. Boom. Hopefully it's fully working and there's no artifacts or anything now. Never played this game. I'm actually kind of excited about it. I played a lot of the pinball on the original PC. The PC arcade. do baffle ball. Anyway, so yeah, that's pretty much it with fixing these. It's a pretty simple process, and let's just put the little screw back in the back here. And that is really all there is. I have my soldering iron set to 700 degrees, in case anybody was curious. Didn't even need to use any solder, no flux, nothing like that. Just heat up and reflow those pins on that one side. So this game is now fixed and ready for a new owner. So if you enjoy content like this, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions involving games or repairs, just leave them in the comments down below. And I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next fix.